Hello, everyone, and welcome to my channel. If this is your first time watching one of my live videos, welcome. My name is Jackie. On this corner of YouTube, I discuss narcissistic abuse, how it affects you, your brain, how to heal and get your life back. I also help people who deal with self-esteem and confidence issues get deal with it, get rid of it, and get back on track with their lives. So if you're into that type of thing and you want to watch that type of content, please stay tuned for the rest of the video. In today's live, I'll be discussing why it's so hard to stop being a people pleaser and how you can stop being a people pleaser. So, are you a people pleaser? Do you find yourself sacrificing your needs for the sake of others? You find yourself giving too much and getting very little in return? Or maybe you feel guilty for saying no or putting your needs before others. Do you feel selfish for taking care of yourself? Do you always say yes, even if it goes against your best interest? Do you find yourself doing everything by yourself and have trouble asking for help? Do you maybe let people walk all over you and you find it hard to stand up for yourself? These are all behaviors and actions that people pleasers tend to gravitate towards. And it's very difficult to break out of these patterns because you've operated this way for a very long time. But at the same time, it really eats away at you because you really wish you could the people you do this for could do the same for you. Or it causes a lot of stress in your life because you're constantly sacrificing yourself and putting yourself on the line for people who most of the time don't even appreciate you, right? So then how do we go about stopping being a people pleaser? You may tell yourself, okay, well, just stop doing this for this person, stop doing that, and ask for more and stand up for yourself. But you find it so hard, right? I know I went through this myself. Like, you want to do this, you can write everything down that you're supposed to do, write it all down on a piece of paper and say, if this person asks for this, I'm going to say no, and I'll stand my ground. I'll have these sort of healthy boundaries, and I'm going to do this and that, and I will tell people, and I'll start asking for help, and I'll tell people no, and I'll ask them to spend some time on my own, and say, I don't want to do that, let's do this. You talk about how you're going to go about it. You know what you're supposed to do. You know when you're supposed to say no and put yourself first. But it's so hard to break out of those patterns, right? Why is that? Well, if you've been struggling with this for a long time, your possible solution could be buried deep, deep in your core beliefs, right? Instead of trying to change the actions, maybe we look at the beliefs and thoughts that drive that action. So before I get into how we can get rid of people pleasing behavior by how we think, I want to introduce you to a concept called core beliefs. Now, you may or may not be familiar with what core beliefs are, but before we dive into how to stop being a people pleaser, we need to understand what core beliefs are and where they come from. These are a set of beliefs that essentially drive how you think, how you feel, and how you act. Have you heard of the saying, what you believe, what your beliefs create your thoughts, and your thoughts determine your actions? Something along those lines. Well, this is true. We all have something called core beliefs, and these are the set of rules and instructions we operate off of. Core beliefs are how we see ourselves, other people, and the world around us. They are essentially the glasses through which we view the world. So let me give you an example. We have two ladies, Annie and Kim, right? Both are smart and competent students. They are high school students. So Kim believes that she is smart and competent and goes into situations, goes into the classrooms, uh, tests, all of that with the confidence that she can handle it. She knows what she's doing. While Annie, on the other hand, does not believe in herself. She has very little confidence in her ability and puts very little effort because what's the point of trying, right? or she even goes as far as to sabotage herself and her work because she believes she will fail anyway. Again, what's the point? Both of these ladies have the same level of skill and intelligence. Heck, Annie could actually be smarter than Kim, but because their beliefs about themselves and their competence differs, they act in different ways. This is a prime example of how our beliefs drive our actions. So where do these beliefs come from, right? How are Annie and Kim both have the same intelligence, but one believes in herself more than the other and therefore performs better than the other? Well, most of our core beliefs are formed in our childhood and adolescence. What we experience, especially from our caregivers, our parents, the environment that we grow up in, shapes the way what our beliefs are, the way we see ourselves, other people, and the world around us, and how we see ourselves in the world. So if you had a positive experience growing up with parents who were there for you and provided for your needs, and they told you they loved you, you grew up feeling like you were enough and worthy of love. So as an adult, you will feel like you're enough and worthy of love and operate in that way. On the other hand, if you were neglected as a child or grew up in an abusive household, this could be physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, you might form beliefs that you are unworthy and unlovable, all of which are false. But because of your traumatic experience and your sort of the way you engaged with the people around you, they created these beliefs within you. And so as a grown up, you operate with these beliefs and you act in that way. And then to add on to that, if you grew up in a household where you were given everything you wanted without working for it, you know, your parents would go above and beyond to give you whatever you wanted, you might grow up feeling entitled, a sense of superiority, and believe that everything should be handed to you for free in life, even as an adult. This is just an example of how our beliefs shape the way we shape our actions, basically, the things we do, how we step into situations, whether we're confident or not, even our self esteem, whether we believe we're worthy of love, we believe we're enough, all of those. Our beliefs shape those, and therefore we act according to our beliefs because, again, like I said, they are the set of rules with which we operate from, how we see the world and how we see ourselves in the world. So, going back to being a people pleaser, which is also strongly tied to having lack of boundaries, not having enough boundaries, right? If you're a people pleaser and you're putting other people first and always saying yes, you kind of have no boundaries and you wish you had them, but you don't really know how to go about them. And when you try to set boundaries, it's really difficult because it comes down to the beliefs that you have around boundaries and protecting yourself and putting yourself first and how you see yourself with other people. So, in this case of being a people pleaser and having no boundaries, there are three scenarios which could possibly um, lead to you understanding what your core beliefs are and how you can identify them and possibly fix them. So, the first, if you feel guilty for saying no or putting your needs first, you may have grown up in an abusive situation. Again, this is emotional, physical, uh, mental, and sexual abuse. You may also have been a victim of gaslighting and manipulation, which could be narcissistic abuse. A lot of I say this because abusers tend to make their victims sort of feel guilty for putting themselves first or for not putting the abuser above them. They make you feel like you're selfish and that it is your duty, it is your right to take care of, cater to this abuser, especially when we look at like narcissistic abuse and emotional abuse. Um, So you grow up with this feeling like, if I say no, if I don't do things for people, I'm a bad person, I'm a bad guy, because they instill those beliefs in you to make it easier for them to do what they were doing without you like snitching or telling on them. They make you responsible for their happiness because abusive people like that tend to be empty on the inside and are unable to fulfill their own needs from within. So they need you to take care of them. And in order to make you take care of them emotionally, then they make you feel like you're selfish for taking care of yourself. Instead, all that attention should be drawn come towards me, right? So in older years, as you grow older, you kind of take on this mentality of feeling like you need to be the one who's there for people and you need to sacrifice for people. And this makes you really um, vulnerable to other abusers, like narcissistic personalities, emotional abusers, because essentially you were trained to be a victim to these type of people. And if you went through something like this, I am so sorry. Um, I urge you to seek help, talk to someone if you're not already, someone who understands, learn as much about this as you can, and speak to a professional who can really help you work through that and heal and overcome that trauma. So the beliefs you have formed around this are not true at all, and it's a reflection of the abuser and not has nothing to do with you as a person. So that could be a possible scenario. The second one is if you believe that people will leave you or abandon or reject you if you do not people please, you may have a fear of abandonment, um, which comes from fear of being rejected. You could have felt rejected or abandoned by caregivers as a child, or perhaps you lost people who were close to you um, when you were younger and has created this sort of fear of abandonment, which then drives people pleasing behavior and feel like you have to go above and beyond and extra for people and sacrifice because they will leave you if you don't. Again, this is I just want to put a disclaimer actually. This is from my observation and things that I have learned, and um, I urge if you're experiencing any of this, please seek a professional, um, talk to someone who can help, and yeah, just try to work through and heal this trauma, and you will find that you feel more at peace. And then the third scenario is if you believe you owe people things, right? You feel like I can't say no because I owe it to them, or I have to do this, it's my duty. Now, with this belief, you may be a people pleaser for a certain group of people or a person. This can be like family or friends or romantic partners. You feel like you owe them. And in this case, you may be or may have grown up in a codependent family. Um, that's where you're sort of the people pleasing attached, and you may also feel heavily attached to like the people you're with, and so that's where it could have come from. And you may also feel like you need to give or sacrifice for people in order to get love back in return. So you have to do something, you have to perform in order to receive love. So you have to self-sacrifice and people please and put other people's needs above your own and go the extra mile just to get love in return. And I want to say, first of all, that is not the truth. You should never have to do extra activities just to get loved in return. Love is something that just happens freely, and it shouldn't be like, I will love you if you do this for me. I will love you if you give me money. I will love you if you blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? It should never be anything like that. So maybe codependency, especially if you grew up in a codependent family, you may feel like you owe your family or you have that sort of tie to them. So this is where people pleasing behavior may come from. Now you may experience one or more of these scenarios could be true for you. And so for your experience, you just have to pick what works for you here. And it could be a combination of either of these, could be one, could be all three. Um, Sorry about that. I had my mic turned off. Let me just get back. I think I was speaking about, yeah, how one of these scenarios could apply to you, and you have to sort of work through that. Go back into your childhood and see if either of these was true for you. Um, this could give you an idea of what your core beliefs are. So try to work through why you believe that you have to sort of sacrifice for other people and why you don't have any boundaries and you're always putting yourself out there. Think back to your past. When was this required of you? Were your parents hard on you and felt like you needed to maybe do well in school and get good grades to receive love from them? Um, were they did they emotionally neglect you? Maybe they weren't necessarily like they provided for you, but then emotionally they weren't there. So it kind of left a feeling of not enough, not worthy of love, not feeling like you're good enough. So work through all of that. Go back into your childhood and try to remember and see which of these could be true and what your core beliefs could be, how they stem from your childhood. And once you tackle these core beliefs, once you find what these core beliefs are, the mission will be to reprogram them into something that's healthier. So if you feel like I'm not worthy of love, I'm not good enough because I was abandoned by a parent, change that to I am worthy of love, I am enough as I am. If people leave, it's a reflection of them and their worth and their thinking, and it has nothing to do with me. And sort of like that. So you go back and you try to reprogram these limiting beliefs and these core beliefs and try to sort of turn them into something healthier that will really help you. And this is something that you can easily do because now that you are older, you are able to process these emotions that you couldn't as a child. So, as a child, if your parent neglects you, because as children, we sort of see our parents as like can't do any wrong. So, if your parent does something to you, like your parent hits you, you think, as a child, I must be at fault. I must have done something wrong. But as an adult, you know better that people do things like that and people are not okay mentally and all sorts of things. So you as a grown up, you now have the power to go back into that and rewrite that story and change those core beliefs because now you know that it wasn't your fault. It wasn't you. You weren't the problem. You had that happen to you. So that you shouldn't go about life with those beliefs that were placed upon you. It has nothing to do with you. I saw something. What did the man say? He said that if you get $100 bill, right? You crumple it up. I don't remember where I heard this from. You crumple this $100 bill up. Does it lose its value? No, still $100. Okay. You throw it in the dirt. Does it lose its value? No, it's still worth $100. That's the same situation. Whatever happened to you as a child does not change your value, does not make you less of a person. It's a reflection of that person who did that. Like, what idiot would crumple up and throw $100 bill on the ground, right? Who would do such a thing? So you really need to go deep and reprogram those core beliefs because they are untrue. They're just not true. And tell yourself that and change them to something healthier, something that serves you, that helps you feel better and stops you from people pleasing. And once you change these beliefs, you will find that it is easier for you to say no, especially for things that do not serve you. You won't feel the urge to people please because taking care of yourself comes first. You won't find the love you need from other people by or pleasing other people. You find it from within. You will let go of people who do not have your best interest at heart, and you will put your needs first, and you will start standing up for yourself, and you will no longer be in servitude to other people. It's such a beautiful thing when you really go in and you determine your worth from within and not outside things, exterior things like people, possessions, but rather from within as a person. Tell yourself you are enough as you are. It's really life changing and it just breaks down everything, all sorts of limitations, and it can go beyond breaking down people pleasing behavior. You will find that other things you've been doing, like self sabotaging, holding yourself back, They will just fall away and cut down because the core beliefs that were driving all these actions are gone. You are now free to do what you want. So I urge you to really like have a notebook that you just write these things down in, and you work through your past and you try to figure out what your core beliefs are, and you change that programming, change it to something healthier. It will change your life. It really will. So that's all I have for today. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button. And if you'd like to see more content like this, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you are notified when I go live. Until next time, bye.